There was a time when Will Smith was known as the king of 4th of July. It all started with ID4, then Men in Black 1 and 2. You had Wild Wild West, Hancock. The latter two not being quite as successful as the other three, but he was the guy. And in 1996, when Independence Day came out, it was built as this. It was Hollywood presenting a true summer blockbuster. You had your big star Will Smith. You had a huge budget. It was the 4th of July weekend. It was built to be a big blockbuster, and it was. It literally became a huge success. It became, at that time, the second biggest film of all time. Next to Jurassic Park was number one. This was in 96. Obviously, things have changed
prior
since then.
to Titanic.
Yes, correct. Prior to Titanic, Avatar, Endgame, Star Wars, all that, or The Force Awakens.
And before, like $82 tickets.
Yes. And before all that. But yeah, no, Will Smith was the king of 4th of July, and Independence Day is what started that reign, and that reign ended with Wild Wild West and Hancock in 2008. But this is PulpMythos. I'm Brian. I am here joined with Spencer and Larry.
Howdy.
Hey.
And we're going to just briefly talk about Independence Day because, well, it is Independence Day if you're watching this on the day that this uploads. And hopefully you go back and check our Hamilton review if you haven't. That went up yesterday. Check it out. It's a little over an hour. It's good to have on in the background when you're doing your chores in the house. So yeah, we're gonna just jump right into this. Sorry, Philip DeFranco. I didn't mean to steal your catchphrase. Don't sue me. But yeah, Independence Day.
He can copyright.
I don't know. Did he copyright that?
He might have.
He might have. I've people copyrighted a lot of bullshit.
You might not want to monetize this episode.
I can't. Even if I wanted to, don't have enough. In order to monetize anything at this point, you have to reach certain thresholds as far as views the channel has accumulated and subscribers, and we are nowhere near that yet. So can't monetize it. But yeah, I don't know. I have to look into that. So yeah, Independence Day. This was basically
96 was, I think the last season of Fresh Prince was either 96 or 97. So it was right at the height.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Fresh Prince ending too.
Yeah, that's why I said Will Smith was at this point in 96. He was king of the world, and then a couple years later when Men in Black came out, between his music career, he'd been around for quite some time, but the resurgence of his music career at that time. But Independence Day was an homage to those 1950s, sci-fi alien invasion movies. And it was interesting in 96 because there were two prominent movies with the same exact theme. And you saw a lot of this in the 90s, films like you would have Volcano and then Dante's Peak, both volcano movies. You had Deep Impact and Armageddon, both asteroid movies. And then you had Independence Day and Mars Attacks, which both dropped. Do y'all remember how Hollywood would do that? Have two films with the same plot, basically?
Yes. They still do that in a rom-com type stupid way. That movie, The No Strings Attached, has got I think there's that one, and then Friends with Benefits, but it's exactly the same movie because if I remember correctly, hearing that they shopped it to somebody, they turned it down, but then they ended up wanting it. So they just recreated the same story. But one's got Ashton Kutcher and I think Natalie Portman, and the other one's got Justin Timberlake and Mila Kunis, which is funny because Ashton and Mila are together and they're both in basically the same movie, just with different leads.
Yeah.
But they still do that kind of shit. We'll look at Judge Dredd and The Raid, which were...
Yes. Dredd was basically they just took The Raid and just swapped out the characters with from Dredd, basically.
Yeah.
That's completely what happened. Did y'all have in 96? I'm a huge sci-fi nerd. My dad is. when Independence Day came out, my dad lost his shit. He was so excited. I remember crystal clear him coming home from work, so excited because some of his coworkers had already seen it, and we were going to get tickets, and he was just so, like just excited. Oh man, Will Smith and aliens blow up shit, and he was so excited. I had toys from it. Same with Mars Attacks. Like I went and saw both of these films when they dropped. I had toys for both of them. Were y'all as big into Independence Day
Oh,
when it
definitely.
dropped?
Yeah. Like you said, I had the toys and everything when that came out. It was a big family event when the movie came out, and we all went and saw it. And like you said, it was at that point when Will Smith was a very big name actor. You really couldn't get bigger at that point. Not 96.
No, I was not into the toys. Which is funny because now I have a fuck ton of toys, but in '96 I was more about playing sports and playing basketball and stuff. I did go to the movies all the time, so I did see that. I did, like double feature Die Hard with a Vengeance, and we snuck into that and Judge Dredd. Like, so we used to sneak into a lot of rated R movies. Yes, the Stallone Judge Dredd. But I didn't realize how many toys they had until we were talking about doing it. There was a fuck ton of toy lines about it, and I had no idea. Like to this day, I had no idea. I didn't even know. I was like,
Oh, I
shit.
did. I absolutely did. I was all into it, man. And they had the like ID4 on the packaging, and the Mars Attacks. I don't want to talk too much more about Mars Attacks, but they do sort of go hand in hand in that they came out the same year and similar themes. But they had some of the coolest damn toys. I don't know if you guys had any or knew anybody that did, but they went all out with those toys for that film. But a lot of pretty much any movie that came out during the summer in that point had toys. Even, and we've talked about this before, me and Spencer on this channel. It's crazy how, especially in the 80s and 90s, R-rated material, and these films weren't or Independence Day wasn't R-rated, but RoboCop, Terminator, Alien, stuff like that, which were rated R, all had toy lines.
That's true. Yeah, because I did have a lot of RoboCop and Terminator toys back in the day, also, and even though those were R-rated movies, I mean, it's pretty clear that was targeted at that a big action movie in that time was meant to be viewed by everybody, regardless of the rating.
Yeah.
Because you can't go back and look at the marketing from that era and say it wasn't aimed at us, that RoboCop wasn't for us as kids. You can't name another generation that has more fondness for like a RoboCop or memories of Independence Day. We're the one producing those memes right now.
The Toxic Avenger even.
I don't mean RoboCop memes. There's not like a bunch of RoboCop memes at the moment. I mean like the Will Smith ones from back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Welcome to Earth.
Yeah. The when the movie begins, I mean the movie's basically broken up into three parts. It's the arrival, the attack, and then the final stuff. Or well, you could arguably say the aftermath. When the arrival occurs, I remember the effects for like the ships coming into the atmosphere and everything like that. I remember that blowing my mind as a kid. Like I'd never seen anything done like that. And even now, if you look at it, it looks really good. Do y'all remember did the effects? Was that something that stood out? And that you thought was something you had never seen before?
Definitely. I mean, the initial attack is one thing, and I think I'm the one of us that remembers this movie the least vividly right now, because you've seen it more than enough, and Spencer is a huge Will Smith fan. But I remember the initial attack. When they hit Washington with the beam and just everything explodes, and it was a big spectacle. I remember that last dogfight in the movie very vividly.
The last dogfight reminded me of all the video games I was playing at the time, because, playing Wing Commander or the Rogue Squadron games and like all of those, in the mid '90s on like Super Nintendo and everything. That's what the whole fight sequence reminded me of. The flight sequence.
Mm-hmm. I remember exactly like you said, video games. I remember playing, certain video games and thinking about this movie, at that time. What was the one you said? Wing Commander, stuff like that. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think, and they're both stars to this day. But in 1996, Jeff Goldblum and Will Smith were the pinnacle of Hollywood star. Like they were the kings, and this was their starring vehicle, and
What do you mean
this movie.
were?
Well, you're true. But I don't. But in all reality, I don't think either of them today could generate a number one, billion-dollar movie by themselves. I don't know that they could. Will Smith's closer to being able to, but even he hasn't, been what he was as far as having a hit on that level. And Jeff Goldblum, he's good for what he is, but I don't think anybody would give him a $200 million budget as the single sole lead.
Well, I think part of that too. You look at some of the movies that Will Smith put out after all this. He was so hell bent on getting Jaden Smith's name out there.
Yeah.
That he did,
which is understandable. I get it.
Yeah, it's his kid. Yeah. Like I ain't hating on somebody for basically nepotizing their kid. Like, good for him. And it took a hit later in his career, but he still has so much money. He doesn't give a shit. Like he's like, all right, whatever. But I just think that those movies hurt him in the long run because he wasn't making, the Men in Black movies anymore. He stopped. He started trying to be more dramatic and doing those kind of movies to show his range. I mean,
which he's proven.
Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right now, currently in his career, he seems more semi-retired in a way. Like you were saying, it seems to be more about pushing his kids' careers or getting them where they need to be in life because he's already been on top. He's already made more money than any of us will ever need in our life.
Speak for yourself. I want a castle.
It's like I just want to retire. But he doesn't seem as concerned with his career or going for those bigger roles or really even trying to do anything, that's artsy or out there for himself at the moment. It seems to be about his family right now.
Yeah. And you look at like Jeff Goldblum, he was on fire in those late 90s. The success of Jurassic Park out of 93 launched his career probably bigger than anyone else that was involved in that film, and then he was the main lead in the sequel, Lost World. And then of course ID4, was something that he was basically the co-lead in. So, he was doing big things in those late 90s, and his career is still fine. It's just, he's not, nobody's going to make him the sole lead of a film. Now he is going to appear in the new Jurassic World, but yet again, he's sharing, with all the other actors.
Well, he's just playing like a bit character. He's not leading. It does help draw in numbers to have him there, but he's not the lead by any means.
Yes. So we're going to go into a three-part discussion here. And that's basically all we're going to talk about for this review because these are three very important parts, I think. And the first one is the one thing I just don't like about this movie, and that's the computer virus plan. I don't know. It just annoys me. And I really think so, Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum get access to one of the alien craft, which was being kept at Area 51. The plan, first of all, the fact that they even think they can take off in this thing, fly it, and survive is just stupid. But then they're going to go to the mothership and plant a virus. Come on. Yeah. It's so stupid. But it works, obviously. And it's just fun. I'm analyzing this from what I consider a weak plot point, but I don't know. When I was a kid, I didn't think much of it. As I grew up, I was just like, yeah, that's stupid. What did y'all ever Did y'all ever think about that? I think it's a play on War of the Worlds, where what kills the enemy is a virus, or humanity itself, or the bacteria that lives in us, and the common cold or whatever. And this is just another form of a virus that kills or defeats the enemy.
Well, yeah, I agree that they just kind of wanted a unique take on they just put a unique spin on, War of the Worlds with that. However, what's the timeline for this movie? Because the amount of time it would take to reverse engineer alien tech and then go, okay, now let's develop a virus. Let's get a programmer in here.
Well, the movie. So it was literally the 50s when they got access to the ship. So they've had it for quite some time. As far as the virus and all of that's concerned, remember Jeff Goldblum is like a super genius in the movie, and he's able to figure out all kind of. He's the one who's able to figure out the signal coming from the mothership is a timer counting down to the attack. He figures out everything because he's super genius, man. And still, no one else figures it out, by the way, except him.
The development takes time, though. I mean, you can't just, like in one day have a virus and, just decide a virus that's going to take down their shields. You're telling me their tech is that simple. Well, you're not telling me, but the creators of this movie
take down their entire fleet. It goes through the mothership, and why the hell would they be connected in such a way that it wouldn't? It decimates their entire military.
Right. Like they don't have any sort of firewalls or fail safes or anything that would see that the mothership is compromised. And never mind. I'm going into it too much, but either way, it just seems implausible to me that
Well, look at the time frame. 1996. That was still like AOL Instant Messenger and shit. So like,
yeah,
when they're talking about viruses and stuff, we're looking at it now, thinking like, oh, that's bullshit. But back then, did you know a lot about computer viruses? I didn't. I know when I looked at a picture of a naked girl that took 37 minutes to upload, like my computer was fucked up for like 3 weeks after that. So I didn't know enough about computer viruses, as a teenager to know that this was going to be a bad thing. So to me, given the time frame, it wasn't that far fetched. It wasn't that. Now, like we said, looking back, it's like, really? These people that created these ships that can travel through time and space are taken down by a virus?
Well, yeah, for me, it's far-fetched because that picture would take so long to load and render back in 1996. It's we like I said, we barely had the tech to display an image on a computer, and the viruses we did have were so simple or primitive back then. That. And you're telling me now it's like, okay, we discovered alien tech and we've got it reverse. We've got their tech reverse engineered. We completely know their programming language. And I'm going to guess Jeff Goldblum has never seen this ship and he's just encountering it. And he knows this instantaneously. We don't have a wiki for him to follow or anything. He just gets this language.
My hope is that there is a hardcore Independence Day fan listening to this
that can explain why
venomously attacks us.
Yeah, because
who's like, first of all, I'm a better programmer. Second of all, you're an idiot because they had more than enough time.
But yeah, that. Any more thoughts on that before we move to part 2 of my 3-part discussion?
Well, no. I was going to bring up Kaza and LimeWire and all those things that were coming up around that time. Napster. Took you 3 days to download a song.
All right, number 2. The movie is not about Will Smith's character, Jeff Goldblum, anyone, or the president. It's nobody. The movie is about Randy Quaid.
Cousin Eddie.
Dude, it's bizarre to me that his character, I can't remember. I have to look up his character. I have his name right here. Hold on. Russell. Russell has the only legit story arc in the entire film. It is his movie. when you really break down the entirety of the film from beginning to end, it's Russell's story. And that's so bizarre to me. It's something yet again I didn't really think about too much till I got older. But it's his story. Here's a guy who was abducted by the aliens, who it completely ruined his life, destroyed his life. He became an alcoholic. His relationship with his kids is horrible. He's the town joke. And then it leads to the invasion. Him warning people. Him telling them that horrible things are coming. Him pushing forward and finding the last bastion of humanity and the last fighting force. Him joining the final battle, and then sacrificing himself to defeat the mothership, saving all these people's lives. It's his damn movie. It's his story arc. He is the star. Changed my mind.
I don't have to.
Exactly.
It was basically the story of Cousin Eddie, and he picked up Rusty and Audrey, and they were living in a trailer together.
Yeah, he did have 2 kids. Yeah, son and daughter.
Yeah, he just took custody after Chevy Chase went crazy and killed his boss. But Cousin Eddie, man, it was literally a slightly smarter, about the same amount of drunk Cousin Eddie in this movie. It was not wasn't that much different of a character.
It's one of those things that when you said it's his movie, I was like, wait, no, it's not. I don't remember it mostly being about this guy. He didn't really stay. It's a Will Smith movie, right? But then I looked it up and looked at the plot, and it's like it kind of feels like maybe they wanted to make this movie about him, but they didn't feel Randy Quaid or the character that he was playing could carry this film. But they already put the effects budget in and everything. And they're like, you know what? Cram Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum in there, and let's call it a day.
Put them on the poster. They'll be the face of the franchise. Which I'm surprised. Yes, there was a sequel, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But I know at the time, I remember I used to get a lot of movie magazines. I got horror magazines like Fangoria and stuff, but I also got like movie magazines that would talk about upcoming films, and there was always articles and buzz about a sequel to ID4 that never happened. And I remember specifically reading an article about sci-fi films, and it talked about Pitch Black before it came out. This was years later. The premise of it, and Event Horizon. There was a full spread article about the script of Event Horizon, and then there was like talk about like an ID4 sequel and all this stuff. I used to read all those magazines back in the day, but it never happened. And it's shocking because it was the biggest movie or the second biggest film for several years.
I just read Inquirer and Us Weekly. Tiger Beat.
You're a Tiger Beat fan. But yeah, final battle. Cool. Oh, yeah. But it's basically Star Wars. It's the battle in Return of the Jedi, like completely. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, and that's another point where you blew my mind because, when you said that it's straight out of Return of the Jedi. Until this moment, I never pieced that together. That the lowering the shields, everything, it's 100% that, and I'm like, oh yeah, it is, but like you said, it's still a very cool battle.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But clearly it took a lot of quote unquote inspiration from Return of the Jedi.
Well, yeah, you have a ship there. It has a death ray.
Yeah,
it's going to shoot and kill everyone. It has a shield around it. You need to deactivate the shield first, so you have a separate plot going on, a separate mission going on to deactivate the shield. The planes can't go away because the battle has already started, so they basically just have to survive until the shield comes down. You have multiple attempts at shooting and seeing that the shield is still up. Yeah, it's Return of the Jedi. it's that final battle, but as opposed to flying in, there was no main sacrifice. Lando didn't die in that battle, although it looked like he was going to briefly. And this Randy Quaid's character does, in fact, crash his ship into the death ray to sacrifice himself.
Like
Yeah, and he did it not only just to you know save the people, but he's saving his kids. That was a big part of it. His kids were in the base that the ship was going to destroy. So he did it. He sacrificed himself for his family, not just everyone else as well. Like I said, he had this
That
beautiful
was his
little
niece and
story
nephew.
arc. Well, was it his niece? Okay, there you go.
No, it was his
I always thought
kids. I
that.
was fucking with you.
Was,
I
oh,
was talking
okay.
about cousin
I always thought
Eddie.
they were his kids. Um,
They are.
but there's that moment when he makes the sacrifice, and the look on their face. It's like I said, it's a beautiful little story arc with him, that he redeems himself, and sort of the idea that he's going to go down in history as this important figure who he was a joke. He was this alcoholic. He was this joke, but now he's the hero that saved everyone. Any thoughts on anything I just said?
Well, no, like you said, the comparison to Star Wars, which is funny because a couple of years later was when, the monstrosity that is, Phantom Menace. For a second, I forgot the name of it. That's how bad it was. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. But anyway,
You got tattoos.
I know, lots of them. But there's a lot of parallels to different movies, but I think that any movie you can pick parts that are much like that. However, a lot of this movie, them finding the information reminded me of A New Hope. Like them, finding the plans of the, using the other ship. Like a lot of it felt like it was pulled from Star Wars. Even as a kid, I remember being like, "Oh, this is cool." Like it's like space, but it's very Star Wars-y. Without, I wouldn't say the caliber acting, because with the exception of Harrison Ford, there's parts of Star Wars that are pretty hammy. So I can't. So, the Welcome to Earth line was not really all that bad. But shout out to Patrick O'Shaughnessy, Fagan Delaney, too, because I know he's a huge an ID4 fan.
I hope he's listening.
God, I hope so. Best actor ever.
So before we end this, there was a sequel. It came out not that long ago. It starred Jeff Goldblum.
2016, 20 years after.
Yeah. I have not seen it. I know Larry has not seen it, but Spencer saw it. I know nothing about it. When I heard Will Smith wasn't returning, I just sort of didn't care. And so that's one of the main reasons I didn't watch it.
That's why I didn't watch it.
Literally, I just like, well, because my thought was, if he wouldn't sign on to it, even though his name is so well associated with the franchise, it's probably a shitty script, and or just he just didn't think it was worth his time. Therefore, it's probably not worth mine. And Spencer, what the hell is it even about?
Well, like I said, it's legitimately 2 decades later. I don't know why I'm mumbling so damn much. Fucking, I promise that I'm not drunk or anything. I don't drink. But it would appear that I was pulling a page out of Cousin Eddie's book.
I am drinking, by the way.
Good for you.
Corona hard seltzer.
Getting day drunk.
There you
go. But it was the same thing. Alien invasion. Will Smith's kid, whose character name I don't remember from the movie, but his kid is around, which is also played by A-Train from The Boys.
Oh yeah, The Boys. We're going to be reviewing season 2 here on PulpMythos. Look forward to that.
See what that's it's a very different role.
Bill Pullum is in it. One of the doctors fell into a coma like 20 years later, and he was attacked like telepathically by the aliens and starts waking up and drawing shit. Like,
wasn't it Brent Spiner that plays Data in Star Trek?
I believe so.
Let me see. I know he's in the first one, and I want to say I saw him in the trailer for the sequel. Yes. Dr. Brackish Okun.
Yep. Yeah, and he was in a coma, and it's just really Brent Spinner. But yeah, it was just not good. it's bad because I saw it when it came out. I don't remember if I red boxed it or what, and it was because I was fucking with Pat, and so 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 I was like, I'm gonna watch it and it's gonna be great, and it was not great. There's very few parts that I even remember about it. It just was not a very good movie, which is crazy because there was a lot of decent actors in it.
And I think they spent a decent little bit of money on it too.
Yes, because who was it? The lesser of the two Hemsworth brothers, the one that the one that tried to get married to Miley, Liam Goldblum was in it. Bill Pullman was still in it. Vivica Fox came back; she was in it.
Oh no shit! I didn't know that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, there was a lot of people in it that I was like, holy shit! But it just was the script was really bad. I mean, the first script wasn't that great, but Will hammed it up enough to where it was it was funny. And then you got Randy Quaid playing Cousin Eddie, so it was at least entertaining. But this one was not entertaining.
We might review it at some point. I have an idea for a show. Tell me if you guys think this is a good idea. And I've had this for quite some time. Literally, it's called. The name of it would be something along the lines of "They Made Another?" ? And it would just deal with it would deal with sequels that just were shitty, and not necessarily the direct sequels. It could be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. But the whole focus would be sequels.
So just shitty or overlooked sequels?
Well, the idea could be. The idea would be that it would the original would be something that is loved and cherished, but then you maybe like Jaws 3, or, you know what I mean, or this or in this new Independence Day, or
Leprechaun in the Hood.
Or that's exactly
Aladdin
you're
and the
getting
40
it.
Thieves.
Hey, you're getting it. Yeah.
Oh, because that was the one without Robin Williams.
Yes. So yeah, just sequels that are you're just like, why did they? They made another. I don't know. It was an idea. Audience, if you're listening, chime in. What do you think about that? What would be a good first film to do if we did it? So, yeah. Any other thoughts on Independence Day before we wrap this up and let everybody enjoy their Independence Day? If you're an American, it's a very specific holiday.
I would suggest, in addition to watching this, go watch The Sandlot.
The Sandlot?
Their big baseball game was on the 4th of July.
Oh yeah, true. Good point.
It was the only night of the year that got bright enough where they could play at night, and they felt like they were playing under the lights.
That's a direct quote.
Yeah. That's true. You just wowed me right there. I was like, oh, that's straight from Sandlot.
That's a good movie. That's another one I watched like 100 times. Well, that movie I love.
Yes.
Every
I love that movie.
Scene of that movie. They also made a sequel, did they not?
Yes, they did.
That could be on the list.
Gambino was in it too, I think.
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of shitty movies. After what was it? Because I think he was in the Mighty Ducks movies and a couple other movies, and after those, he was in some shitty movies.
Shitty sequels, like. Yeah, there's a lot of potential there. I think, because it comes out of, you have a successful film, and then it's like, well, clearly we have a brand now, so we're gonna make more of it. And a lot of times it just goes in horrible directions, or you end up with a weird scenario where you'll have like a sequel that sucks, but then maybe the second or third, or the third or fourth one's good. Like the Friday the 13th series is a good example of just complete hit and misses. Like you'll have one that's just bad, and then you'll have one that you're like, wow, that shit was pretty good.
We can watch the Home Alone 3 or 4.
That's a good example of yes. Definitely. So yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. Anything else, guys, before we go?
No, I'm good.
Nothing really. I do like your idea of covering sequels, though. I'm kind of curious about Independence Day 2. Yeah, I've got a few questions.
No, you're not. Go ahead and negate all those questions.
Was it that bad?
It just was not entertaining. It didn't hold my attention. It was not great.
I think another movie that would fit this great is
Battleship.
Oh no, I will not watch that again. I refuse to watch that again. But so Jurassic Park is a masterpiece, in my opinion. I think the film is damn near flawless. I do not like Lost World. I don't. It's hard to get through it. To me, it's boring in a lot of parts. Yet I love Jurassic Park 3. Now, not everyone agrees with me on that, but I think Jurassic Park 3 is pretty solid. Um, where do y'all stand on that before we go? I'm just curious.
It was dog shit.
Fuck you, man.
It's been a while since I've seen 3. I'm gonna need to rewatch it.
Dude, 3 was good. I'm standing on that. I'm standing on that hill.
Spencer, you disagree?
I don't. It's been so long since I've seen that fucking movie. If I remember correctly, isn't that the one where he's in like the city? The T-Rex is going around town.
No. That's Lost World. That's the one I don't like.
Oh, okay.
That's the one that Jeff Goldblum starred in. He started the sequel.
Yes, that's the
I
one
do not
I
like.
was. Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah. No. I did not like that one, but then I liked the third one.
Okay, what was the main premise for the third one?
The family, the kid gets lost on an island, and they pull back the doctor, the raptor guy from the original. He goes to the island. They lied to him in order to get him there. It's a different island than I don't think it's the original island, and they're just trying to rescue this like kid that's lost on the island. This family, they promise him this money, but it's not there. And then at this point, he had gotten divorced. Him and his wife, it didn't work out, and they got divorced, but they're still friends. That's a whole subplot. It was pretty good. It was good. And Jurassic World. I love Jurassic World. I despise the sequel. I hate it. I hate Jurassic World too.
Well, maybe the third one will be great.
And that's what I'm going. That it might be, but they're bringing all the original guys back. You know. But yeah, we're gonna leave now. If you're watching, have a good 4th of July.
Happy 4th.
Stay safe. Don't blow off your fingers with mortar shells or whatever.
Yes.
No, like really, don't.
You're we get to blow shit up legally. It's pretty fun.
Be safe with your fireworks.
Yes. Bye. Bye.